Facts checked out, now writing the full script. In late 1983, an Italian man named Silvano walked into a Bologna sleep clinic, and 40 years later, doctors still cannot fully explain how a single walnut-sized structure buried in his brain shut down his ability to rest, then dream, then live in that exact order. His thalamus was quietly dissolving into holes. Nobody could tell him why or stop it. Silvano was 52. He came from a bloodline that had buried men his age for generations, always the same way, sweating, sleepless, terrified, gone within a year. He didn't know the pattern had a name yet. Neurologist Ignazio Reuter admitted him that spring. Silvano agreed to be filmed and to donate his brain, hoping it might help whoever in his family came next. Nobody expected the footage to become one of the strangest documents in modern neurology. The first anomaly wasn't that Silvano slept poorly. Stopped sleeping almost entirely. His pupils shrank to pinpoints. He sweated through his clothes at rest. His heart rate climbed like he was running while he lay still. Sedatives did nothing, not mild ones, not massive ones. EEG readings showed his brain never dropped into deep sleep at all, cycling instead through a strange, shallow half-state doctors hadn't documented. 6 months in, he began miming his old routines in this state, combing hair that wasn't there, buttoning an invisible shirt. He looked awake. He wasn't. At first, Reuter's team suspected something psychiatric: chronic anxiety, a stress-triggered insomnia disorder spiraling out of control. It fit the visible symptoms: extreme sleeplessness, panic-like physical signs, a slow unraveling that looked on the surface like a mental breakdown nobody had caught in time. It was the simplest explanation available, and for a while it held. Then the family records surfaced. Reuter traced Silvano's relatives back through parish death registers into the 1700s, and the pattern refused to break. Same age of onset, near 50. Same order of collapse, insomnia, sweating, then a fog that swallowed consciousness. Different decades, different circumstances, identical ending. Psychiatric breakdowns don't inherit themselves down a bloodline with that kind of precision, generation after generation, regardless of who was stressed and who wasn't. Something physical was being passed down, something structural, and it was choosing its targets before they were even born. Here is the detail that still unsettles the researchers who studied him. When Silvano died in 1984 and his brain was examined, his cortex, the part responsible for memory, language, personality, looked almost untouched. The damage wasn't spread out. It was concentrated, almost surgically, inside the thalamus, the small relay station that filters every sensation reaching you and gates the switch between sleep and waking. Under the microscope, it wasn't inflamed or shrunken. It was riddled with holes, a sponge-like lattice where dense tissue should have been, eaten away by misfolded proteins called prions. And because the thalamus, not the cortex, had failed, Silvano never lost his mind in any ordinary sense. He stayed aware. He stayed himself. He simply lost the one structure that lets a brain close the door between dreaming and being awake, and lived inside that gap, conscious, exhausted, unable to leave it for months. The prion explanation came next, and it explained the misfolding, but not the selectivity. Prion diseases like Creutzfeldt-Jakob spread damage broadly across the cortex, unraveling personality and memory fast. Silvano's didn't. His stayed almost entirely confined to the thalamus, as if the misfolded protein had a destination in mind. Viral infection was ruled out. Nothing transmissible moved between family members who never lived near each other. Environmental toxins were ruled out too. The disease followed bloodlines across cities and decades, not shared water or soil. When researchers later identified the exact genetic mutation responsible, on a gene called PRNP, they could predict who in the family would develop it. What they still couldn't explain was why that single mutation aimed itself at one small structure and left the rest of the brain standing. Genetic testing can now tell a descendant of Silvano's family whether they carry the mutation, years before symptoms start. What it cannot tell them is why the thalamus, of all places, is where this particular protein chooses to collapse first, while identical prion diseases tear through the cortex instead. Researchers still don't know what it is about that structure that invites the damage in. Somewhere in a brain not unlike yours, that switching station is doing its quiet work right now. Nobody has fully explained why it's the one place this disease decides to start.